Let me ask you specifically about the Jerusalem Post, who've accused you repeatedly of anti-Semitism. What do you say to that? I mean,
well, everybody's an anti-Semite in the eyes of Israel.
Do you think you are or not?
What is anti-Semitism?
Somebody who has a hatred of Jewish people because of their Jewish ethnicity?
Good. Where did I show that kind of hatred to Jewish people?
How do you feel about Jewish people?
I mean, should I go to do the white man thing? Like, most of my friends are Jewish.
No. How do you feel about Jewish people?
It's 2025, and yet we're still trapped in this same old, exhausting debate where the moment Piers Morgan interviews Bassem Youssef, the predictable accusation of anti-Semitism gets thrown in like a reflex just because someone dares to question Israel's actions, and Bassem, cool as ever, just laughs because he knows how absurd it is. This tactic has been used for years to shut down honest conversations. And here's what's even crazier. Palestinians themselves are Semitic. They speak Semitic languages, but facts clearly don't matter when the real agenda is to deflect and silence. And the frustrating part is that even in this day and age, this tired narrative still works on so many people who fall for it without thinking, which raises a real question. Why does valid criticism always trigger such a knee-jerk reaction? And why are people still afraid to challenge it, even when truth is right in front of them?
Like any other people. What are you talking about?
Well, what you've been accused of...
So I've been accused of being a CIA
Yeah, I'm not saying
operative.
you're guilty. I'm just saying you've been
No,
accused
I've been accused of so many things. You've been accused of so many things
course.
too, right?
And it's annoying.
Like, and then the thing is, anti-Semitism...
If you're not that person.
Anti-Semitism has turned into, if you criticize Israel, you're anti-Semitic.
I agree.
Yeah, so it's
been used as a protective shield against criticism.
It's a way to shut down conversation.
But there are also lots of genuine anti-Semites.
Yes.
Who do hate Jewish people.
Of course.
And want to kill them.
And there is a lot of people who hate Muslims, and there's a lot of people who hate gays, and there's a lot of people who hate white people.
Right.
Yeah.
What do we do about where we are with this situation now? What's the solution?
Solution?
Yeah, genuinely.
I mean, I'm not a political analyst, but again, and I'm sorry being one-sided, but there is one side who has all the power, all the money, all of the weapons. They have been controlling the political spectrum. This is how many people in the Congress.
So how do we get to a solution? Do you believe in the idea of or do you believe in a two-state solution, for example?
I don't know. I mean, it's not up to me.
Could it work? Could you have a Palestinian state side by side with Israeli state?
How would it work with Israel is taking all of the West Bank and cutting it into smaller Gaza?
How could it work?
Again, I told you a quote from a book by Obama, and I'm telling it again. The problem with the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is that one side of them is very powerful and the other side is very weak. Why would Israel concede?
But if Israel has the power, as you say, and I'm not denying they have a lot of power, if they have the power, how should that best be wielded to try and find peace out of all this? I mean, I remember Northern Ireland, right? People said it was intractable. Loyalists and Republicans wanting to kill each other all the time, living side by side in utter enmity. And they did eventually get there. They had fresh leadership and they got there. The terrorists became politicians, they worked it out, they got peace. There is now peace in Northern Ireland, when many people for decades didn't think there would be. Did you see any parallels there?
Because the stronger side, which is Britain at the time, they kind of like they were reasonable. They didn't go and assassinate the leaders of the IRA, right?
They tried.
They tried, but they didn't.
Yeah, they did kill a lot of IRA members, yeah.
Yeah, but there's negotiators that you don't...
What they didn't do was go and target and attack civilian areas with bombing to kill IRA terrorists.
That's good.
Well, they didn't do what...
So why didn't England do that? Why did they were like IRA terrorists? Why did they go in and just like destroy Belfast? Why didn't they do that?
Because their own side were also living in those homes.
Yeah.
They all lived amongst each other.
No, because...
Well, you don't have in Gaza. In Gaza, you don't have Israelis living side by side.
So wait a minute. So if there were Israelis living, you would protect those lives, but the Palestinians you would
I'm saying Israel
civilians.
Obviously is far more unlikely to bomb a civilian population area, even if they think Hamas are lurking inside it, if Israeli people are also living there.
Yeah, because they don't.
So that's the difference between that and Northern Ireland, is my point.
Yeah, because they don't care about the Palestinians' lives.
Well, it doesn't involve Israeli lives. But
yeah.
The analogy with Northern Ireland would be, in that circumstance, it would.
I don't know how can we move forward with one side having all the power and I mean, like, if Israel is actually sincere about it, they should end the occupation. I mean, they should do the mildest thing, which is like stop the settlement.
I agree.
They're not.
Somebody asked me, the Palestinian ambassador to the UK said to me, do you think what's been happening with these settlements, expansions in the last year on the West Bank, is that terrorism? I said, yes, it is. To me, it's what's been happening. So basically, it's terrorism.
So Israel is committing daily terrorism every single day.
I agree. On the West Bank,
and
I think
at a certain point, something had to give. And it's terrible, but something had to give. Again, if you treat people like animals, they behave as animals.
So how do we get...
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, do we expect the Palestinians to sit down as well-behaved victims while they're being killed? Well, they should be slaughtered while not making noise. That's impossible.
But who should bring Palestine out of this?
I don't know, because all of the Nelson Mandelas are either killed or in jail.
Should it be other Arab countries?
I don't know.
Some people talk about a coalition of UAE or Saudi.
I don't have a solution. I don't have a solution, Pete.
Really? Have you not thought about it?
I'm not having a solution, because the solution is very difficult and complicated when Israel is doing what it's doing and having all of the support of the Western media and the Western government.
What should America be doing?
Get off the phone and say stop. As easy as it is. But they don't. It's terrible.
Why haven't they done that, do you think?
When did they ever do it?
Well, it's been President Biden and
oh yeah, they would have like a slap on their hand every now and then, and they stop and they pause the arms, and then they will continue doing it again. No. I mean, they're doing it again, and the thing is, like, they're using the same exact thing. You know, it's like, do you remember the one that I showed you? This one. Similar. This was like the kill between the Palestinians.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I remember that.
Now they go into Lebanon and they're doing the same thing. Look at that. These are the Lebanese.
But they're also destroying Hezbollah.
Yeah, but at what cost? And the thing is, like, if you look at that, remember when I gave you like what is the exchange rate?
Yeah.
It seems that the best investment that you can do is Israeli souls, because they never depreciate. Israeli souls, invest in Israeli souls.
Given the Hezbollah,
it's an oxymoron, right?
Given,
I don't know if they have.
But given that Hezbollah's response on October the 8th was to start unleashing rockets at Israel, which they carried on doing all year, at what point did they not expect?
They didn't unleash rockets at Israel. Mehdi Hassan already told you that. They needed in Shabah farm, which
no, he was splitting hairs.
What?
He was splitting hairs.
No.
Well, okay, but it's land that Israel's claimed to disown since 1967.
Yeah.
Okay, so they say it's theirs.
You know, but you know what's the difference?
But they knew what they were doing.
What's the difference between Hezbollah and Israel? Although I'm not a big fan of Hezbollah. Hezbollah always targets military bases.
That's not true. They've killed civilians.
Yeah, how many?
Not as many as Israel. But they've killed civilians.
They killed 42.
So, but the idea that, so the idea they're only targeting military.
And Israel killed 1,000 for 42. That's like a 1 to 20.
But they've also targeted thousands of Hezbollah very precisely with these pages.
And then they killed 1,000 people.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not really targeted. And when you go and vaporize a whole square or a whole block, killing 200 people. I mean, the thing is, we talk about terrorism, right? We talk about terrorism, right? But we never...
Is killing terrorists, even if you kill civilians in the process, is that in itself an act of terrorism to you?
Oh, so what's the proportionality, right?
You tell me.
I know, I don't know, but it's not 1 to 1,000.
But you keep saying you don't know, it's a convenient get out. You're a very smart
Will you
guy.
do the same thing? I ask you, what should the Palestinians do? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but your answer to whenever I say, what should Israel do? You don't have one for any of it.
Stop what they're doing. That's actually what they know. I do know. They should
hang on.
them.
Yeah, but I'm not sure you do, because you don't like Hamas, you don't like Hezbollah, you don't like terrorism. You know they've been waging terrorism against Israel. I don't know what you expect Israel to do.
What do I expect Israel to do? What do I expect the people that actually have received the occupation and the killing of Israel every day? I mean, like, you're killing them. I mean, should they just like stay silent?
So they're all resistance, all freedom fighters?
Yeah, for their people, yes.
In your mind, are they?
If I was living in Palestine, if I was living in Lebanon, I would actually cheer on those people, because basically they're the bigger bully with bigger guns. They're killing me. So yeah. I mean, a lot of people who live there don't agree, but no, I don't know.
A lot of people I know in the Lebanon do not agree with that.
Yes, I understand, but
they think Hezbollah has been a very insidious influence on their country.
Of course, but like even those people who hate Hezbollah, they don't like what Israel is doing to them.
But what is it? About 30% of people in Lebanon support Hezbollah. 70% don't.
I don't have these numbers.
The 2/3 of the country don't support them.
Yes.
They don't represent the people.
Oh, good. So they don't represent the people, and yet you're killing people around Hezbollah, even if they don't represent them. So why?
Well, in their eyes, they're killing terrorists.
Well, in their eyes, they're doing whatever. In their eyes, they were thinking that whatever school that they bombed in Egypt was inside the military base.
Do you accept, as we've been talking, though, that it is complicated? It's not simple.
No, it's not really complicated. There is an occupation that should end. If the occupation didn't happen, all of that wouldn't have happened. This problem was pushed.
You believe it, if the occupation, as you put it,
Yes.
And I don't dispute the terminology, but if you believe if they just ended that tomorrow, any form of control over Palestine, there would be no more attacks or ideology of wanting to attack Israel after that. See, I think it's very naive. There would be. These groups are wedded to the elimination of Israel. Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, Iranian regime, they want Israel done, gone. And
there's a lot of countries in the world that
surrendering any kind of control over Gaza, for example, is not going to stop that. So how do you
keep doing it, right?
Well, no, but how do you move to a place where you no longer do it? You don't expose your country, as they put it,
as
to
much as I don't
insecurity.
like all of these groups that you have mentioned, but those people have actually it's a cause and effect, right? Because again, and Mahdi Hassan told you, there was no Hezbollah in 1978, there was no Hezbollah in 1982, and there was no Hamas in 1948, and there was no Hamas in 1970s.
But the ideology existed.
Really?
Yeah, the groups weren't set up, but the ideology existed.
Where was the ideology in 1978?
Let's wrap this up. Piers Morgan thought he had Bassem Youssef cornered, firing off loaded questions about terrorism and ideology. But Bassem didn't flinch, staying calm while cutting through the noise and flipping the script, basically. Saying if you hold the power, the weapons, and total control, maybe the reflection needs to happen on your side of the mirror. But as expected, Piers wasn't listening. He bulldozed through the conversation, talking over every sharp and grounded point Bassem tried to make, yet Bassem didn't back down, quietly dismantling Piers's assumptions one by one with facts and reason. And when the debate hit the familiar territory of occupation versus terrorism, Bassem made it clear these acts don't just appear from thin air. They're rooted in years of oppression and brutal conditions. While Piers tried to make it all seem simple and one-sided, ignoring the complex history behind every headline, but Bassem held firm, saying if you really want peace, it starts with truth, not bombs or finger-pointing, and definitely not biased narratives, because peace can't grow from denial. It only grows when you dig deep and face the past honestly and bravely. So shout out to everyone who stuck around. Like drywall and shingles, hit that like, share the truth, and trust me, the next one's gonna be even wilder.